Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cute for Teams, Champions Using Teams Effectively. Another session of office hours to answer your questions. So glad to see everybody. And we can dive in, whether you want to come off mute or go in the chat, of course, as soon as I start recording. Trucks outside the window, so hopefully you don't hear too much background noise. Yeah, so for those that may be watching it, live here, we posted in the some kind of instructions for the session in the chat, and that's a good question, Jim. Whether so I had to repost once people started joining, as opposed to them being able to see my chat previous. Can we post to individuals upon joining? Is there a feature to post a default message to people that join a meeting? It sounds like a good idea. It would certainly help for what I was trying to do here today. I'm not aware of that as a feature. And then I'm not aware of something like that on the roadmap, but that would be nice. A default message about you've joined this meeting, rules of etiquette or whatever it may be. That's pretty cool. I don't know if anybody's heard or seen of that.
Something with Power App or something of that nature.
Yeah, maybe sending it to them separately, like an email. Well, yeah, you would think that seems like something that could work, but I haven't heard of that. Good idea for sure.
Kind of along those lines, more recently, there was some other place that I discovered that they do something similar to this office hour. But what they do is they have some type of a data collector or a form that's out there where people can contribute ideas to what the topic is going to be for that given week. So I think they set it up so that it's a poll and you can vote as to which one. And I guess they post, the day before or something of that nature. But
yeah,
to kind of solidify what you might expect for that given office hour.
Is it kind of like a crowdsourcing, like a people voting on other people's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Certainly we could set up a Microsoft Forms, data entry form I could post that right on the blog to, let folks submit ideas. But yeah, we're talking about people voting on other people's suggestions.
Yeah, I think the process was that you could submit at any time, but 24 hours prior, the host would select what the topic was going to be, and then they would post that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be useful. I have to think about that one. I mean, if nothing else, certainly adding a data entry form for our suggestions period. Should be able to do that, and I'll just add it to the Q for Teams link. Does that make sense? Awesome. I will say on the front end, I did hear webinars is rolling out to GCC. If I'm not mistaken. Stacy probably would know for sure. But that's what I heard rolling out. So you may see it already, or if not, then you're on the tail end of the rollout. Those they happen, progressively or whatever. So in theory, I guess by this next session, I would think that rollout would be complete. So good news for GCC. Cool. Anybody come with a burning question for today? I've been gone a couple weeks. Missed you guys. So I know Stacy's been holding it down.
I have a burning question.
Yeah.
It's regarding having two organizers, especially on Teams Live meetings. Will that happen?
Now on the Teams Live, you're talking co-producers, right?
No, I'm talking co-organizer. So there are times when um, I'll set up a Teams live event for a
Mhm.
group, and I'm the only reason why I can do it is because they are hosting a public event, and everyone in the organization is not granted privileges to be able to um, set up public events. So
All
only
right.
a few people are privileged with that. And
Right.
so I'll set it up, but I'll go on vacation
Right.
and I'm not here. And in case a change needs to be made, I have team members who are here, but they are not the organizer. So they have to reach me on vacation and vice versa, right?
Right.
So, and then some of these events are set up months in advance, or at least a month in advance. And things happen, emergencies, and people may have planned to be in the office, but then they had to leave. And so an organizer isn't present, but it isn't set up with a backup organizer. And we had heard along the way that one day there would be a co-organizer. So I would like to follow
Right.
up on that, please.
Yeah, and so that's definitely. So let me switch to my commercial client because trying to confirm it's there. That's definitely a thing. Second question is then when does it come to GCC, which I'd have to check documentation on that, but let me switch my screen share here. And a different window. Okay, this is my commercial. I was trying to, let's go to an older one. Okay, there we go. This is meeting options. And of course, let me find a different one. Okay. Uh, one sec. I just want to find something with two people in it so I can move out. This one may work. Let's go with right. Let me just start this thing from scratch. So this is test one, and I'm gonna add a couple of folks. I believe that would show up not at this point, but on the meeting options once it gets created. So that looks like it's created. Go in and edit it. Meeting options. There we go. And then, so it's not here. Okay. So that means I've seen it on a different build. So I guess what I could say is I've seen it. So it's certainly a thing. And if we go to the roadmap, I'm sure it's probably there with, let's go to the roadmap actually. App. And it's called Razor. All right. And so this is the first one of May. And I guess, so that's worldwide. So we're a little early or still got time. So it is saying though GCC and worldwide, this implies it could be a simultaneous rollout. So we may not have to wait, till after a commercial, but certainly is a thing, right? The co-organizer meeting role. What this doesn't say is, how it affects the live events. I have not seen that in live events. I don't know that I've been looking for it in a live event concept, but certainly in a normal Teams meeting, you've got that role. And then most of you, I think, are GCC high and DODD it's federal, so they'll get it in June. But for the rest of the world, May is when that should be coming. And so, at least from a regular Teams meeting, it does address just what you said in terms of you created the meeting and then you go away. That the people you specify as co-organizers have the same abilities to do, whatever they need to do with that meeting, so nobody has to call you on your vacation. And then, of course, we have I don't think they're calling co-organizers, but for breakout rooms, you have a co-owner of that already. So co-organizers for the meeting, it's coming May. It's in about a month. So guess that's good. It's good news. It'd be better if it was already here, but it's good news, right?
Hi, Ricardo. This is Glenn.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think that we tested this, and I think that we had live events. I think we had 2 organizers. One was acting as the producer, queuing up the PowerPoints and so on, and the other was reading the Q&A, because attendees in the live events can't see the chat. Only the producer and the presenters can see the chat, and attendees key in questions into the Q&A, but the organizer has to check the Q&A box in setting up the meeting, or else the Q&A will not appear. And so then the attendees key in questions into the Q&A, but they can't see what anybody else wrote until the producer publishes the question. So if you have like 1,000 people and 10 key in a similar question, the co-producer can select the best of the 10 and publish that to everyone, and then everyone can see it. But what we found is you cannot change people's roles once the meeting starts. Like you can't between attendee, presenter, and organizer / producer.
Producer or something.
Yeah, you can change people's roles before the meeting starts, but once it starts, you can't change their roles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely what you describe in that Q&A box. Certainly the chat's coming in, and like you said, it is a moderated Q&A. That's one of the big differences between the live event and a normal Teams meeting, which now has that higher capacity of 1,000 people. But yeah, I've run across a couple customers where they're still what would help them make the switch from live events is a moderated Q&A versus just a chat where anybody can say anything and it's going to be seen by all. So moderated Q&A is still a live event, a unique live event thing. Let me check that, because answered.
You're correct.
Okay.
In my agency, we are heavy users of Teams Live, extremely heavy users of Teams Live, and moderated so far has only been available in Teams Live, not in a regular Teams meeting, and even with all the meeting options.
Right. And if I'm reading this correctly, because my mind was telling me that was a thing coming, and I think that's what this is, a Teams Q&A, which is currently in public. I think that's supposed to say preview. I guess it could be review. But I think this would be the future, a Q&A app in a Teams meeting or a Teams webinar, which is a Teams meeting, that allows users to be able to create moderated or unmoderated Q&A experience. So in theory, we don't have a date. We got a date for the preview, so it looks like it's still there. But in theory, there's a day coming where this is a part of a normal Teams meeting as well. And I could see people who, if they know their audience is 1,000 or less, now could kind of go either way, unless they're doing some heavy duty production stuff, then the live event might still make sense. But yeah, for many of my customers, this is the final piece to get them out of the live events stuff. This will be an interesting one to follow, to see when they're thinking about taking that out of preview. But yeah, to your point, Glenn, yeah, you got to know at least your producers up front, and also that Q&A button there, making sure that's enabled. So I don't know if you can go back and once you're live, I don't know if you can go back and check that box either.
No,
Yeah.
you cannot.
Yeah.
And then if you go back, just one,
Garnet.
you see how there's only one slot for the organizer?
Right.
Right.
To edit. Yep. Yeah, so we want multiple people in there.
It's on the wish list.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but you could check if you make someone a presenter, you might get a drop-down arrow that allows you to elevate the presenter to producer or organizer. I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, but I guess elevating to producer still wouldn't give some of those organizer capabilities. They could certainly do production stuff, but in terms of, and so what would those things be, right? It'd be like, I guess adding new attendees or adding new presenters.
It really impacts the view, the screen view, right? So the producer has two boxes. They have the queue box and then they have the send live box, whereas the presenter only sees things in one screen, in one view. They don't have anything to queue up. They don't have the choice of options between single source, meaning one camera view, and content left, meaning sharing content and a presenter at the same time. Right. Those little boxes under the queue box. So this is the difference between presenter and producer.
Right. And I was just thinking about the difference then between the organizer and even the producer or presenter, right? What they're
the organizer just puts it on the calendar.
Yeah. But I mean, what would keep you as an organizer on vacation, keep you from having to get a call? What is the thing that people wouldn't be able to do in this case?
Change their role before the event, or change the time of the event, or usually it has a lot to do with roles, right? So they want to add someone, right? So only the organizer can add someone, if there's a last minute presenter that became available.
Yeah. I would think there'd be some scenarios where, just depending on a scenario, where you could, in iProducer, well, I think I would have this, invite someone dialogue, right? Is that an organizer only?
You're the organizer. The best way would be to try it with someone who isn't an organizer, and have them try to call someone into the meeting and see if that works.
Right. See if I can add Nestor in here. Let's close this guy. Edit. So Nestor, even I'll just make him a producer. You don't have the most recent version of the meeting info. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm the organizer. Let's close this. Let's do it again. Sir, update. All right. Probably the fact that I had the thing going in the background. All right, so we did that. We go over to Nestor. And actually I got it here. No, but I may need to have him actually in the desktop client. Let's try. Let's see. This is the 15th. Oh, there we go. Was that it? Test one? No, it's this guy. He's not gotten his invite yet. So that is interesting. So that's what you get for trying this stuff on the fly. So he's in there, but no invite yet. Gosh. Again, all we were going to try there is just to see what his view is. Yeah, it's not there yet. That's interesting. But in any case, you know, for sure that, you know, organizer certainly, whether it's the date of the event and all those, there's certainly some organizer specific things there. All we were trying to figure out is if maybe the producer could add another person. See if you got not even an email. That is interesting. Sure, what's up with that? All right. I don't know what that unknown is about either. So something weird's going on there. But maybe in another session we can try that out. Some better prep work.
There's a question in the chat about sway, and I don't know what that is either, so I'm interested in it too.
Okay. Yeah, take a look here. So check this note. So Teams meeting increased from 350 to 1,000. Yes. Teams live events 10,000 increased to 20,000. Yes. And then sway. So is sway coming to GCC is the question. So I believe, quote me on this, I believe the answer is no to that. I think I checked way back, and I believe I saw that as not planned. But what it is I'd call it like a browser and mobile friendly, almost like PowerPoint. So you can see this one coming up, which I'll go ahead and sign in. I don't know if it's probably going to yell at me. Yeah, so Gov account not enabled. And that might be the, is that, oh, that's a Gov. That might have been my problem there. But anyway, let me switch over since I'm in a commercial client. Then I can go to so commercial client. So Sway is available there. Come over here and go to all apps. And where is my Sway? And I have certainly used this in the past. And so the question would be like, why would I use this? Like, let's go to this template here. It's kind of an easy way to put visual elements on this very responsive kind of modern approach here. To kind of see this, if I edit, I don't get a ton of options. It's not as, you know, elaborate as PowerPoint, but it's trying to get what you need done in terms of adding an image, adding basic text and headers, and making it look nice, be responsive, and work well in browsers and mobile. So if I go ahead and play to see the end result, this is what somebody clicking on it would see. And it, you know, very much kind of, you know, top to bottom approach. If I squeeze it, you know, the responsiveness should kick in to try to continue to make it look good. And then if this was on mobile, you know, it would accommodate that for that as well. And then, not just an internal thing. This can be shared with, with people outside of your org. That is one reasons why I've used it in the past. So that's what it is in a nutshell. But I think I remember for GCC, I thought I remembered seeing that as not planned for GCC. So then my next question might be, what would I use instead? Depending on your org's external sharing options, any PowerPoint or anything, and then just share that externally. This one is kind of inherently a public facing kind of application, which is likely why not, the nature of it, makes it hard to make it maybe GCC compliant. Maybe that's why it's not planned. It's very much, meant to be a public facing kind of a thing. So yeah, just sharing some other format like PowerPoint or something externally might be the other approach. But that's what it is in a nutshell. But yeah, this sort of proved at least that the government version is not there. A little misleading message because it kind of is giving me hope there, but I think you're going to contact your administrator and still get a no. And then, so you thought you saw a mention of, it sounds like you're saying you thought you saw a mention of Sway in Viva. I have not seen mention of that.
I was looking somewhere in some of the documentation, and it kind of had mentioned that. So it could very well have been that it was kind of morphed outside of the GCC documentation and into commercial, but I'm not real sure.
Yeah, maybe Viva's changing the game, and creating something that's allowing for something like Sway to be created, but I haven't heard that. Anybody using, I think in GCC there is Viva Connections. Is anybody using that today? Yes. I have this enabled here. Cool. I'm gonna switch back over to my GCC. Well, actually, we're kind of at time here. Still switch anyway. Any other last minute questions anybody had? Or even something maybe we can prep for next week? If not,
I do have one question. I don't know that it's so much related to Teams, although I believe I read someplace that Power Apps was going to enable the owner of a team to be able to export a list of its members.
say that one more time.
Somehow the inclusion of Power Apps into the Teams environment was going to allow a team owner to export a list of its members. Currently, you have to have PowerShell be enabled through the admin center to be able to run that. Okay. But I think this was supposed to make that more accessible. Okay. The other piece, the flip side of that is we're having a problem identifying upfront who the new people are in our organization. So I'm wondering if there could be some type of a Power App run, either through the now Dataverse and whatnot, to be able to get you a listing of new Active Directory accounts when they're created, so that they in turn could then add those people. The admin center is not going to do it, but the owner of a team add people into that team, so that on day one, they're able to access it and hit the ground running.
Yeah, so my mind tells me certainly just something you can script up. I don't know that I know of an easy button for that, other than, I think I've seen in practice, if I'm added to a security group and a team, some membership includes that group, then once the onboarding person, adds new employee to their appropriate security groups, then they are thus added to the team. I think I've seen that, but not more of an automated, once they get an Azure AD account. I could maybe see some. Well, I guess there could be some teams where they are, that individual is for sure, no further vetting required. They're there and have a certain classification. They get access to this team, because otherwise I would think, yeah, you're a new employee, but I need to figure out, do you actually need access to this kind of that least privilege approach?
And the team membership part is kind of a separate use case, but simply even with communications or whatnot, being able to send somebody a message automatically as a result of being added to Active Directory.
Yeah.
And then as throughout the enterprise, depending on the geographic location or the program or department that you might be in, to then have that list that people would then in that particular area be able to extend a welcome or some kind of message like that.
I would also think about scenarios, maybe this is another way to think about it, but upon first logging in the teams as a new employee, like if you've got company communicator or something like that, something where a chat bot, welcomes you by the fact that you've logged in, or maybe, if step one of a new employee is add the the Contoso app, and then there's some pre-done, messages that the bot sends out. That could be another approach too. It does take at least one intentional action by that new employee, but then at that point they could get some pre-canned messages. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it feels like with like Azure AD Premium and a nice PowerShell script, that seems like something doable, but maybe not an easy button for that yet.
Yeah, and part of that is for IT, yes, easy.
Right.
They have the accessibility to the script. The problem is that IT doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to support the end power users that need that accessibility and the information. So the silos and the lack of collaboration, I think, is resulting in not a good end user experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah, onboarding can be tough. I've seen some customers struggle with that, with that piece and automating things. So yeah, interesting.
Okay, thank you very much. Have an awesome weekend. Got to run.
You all too. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and check out the blog for more content.